Ryan Whitaker had always believed his hands were meant to build things, not break them. As he knelt beside 9-year-old Lily Harrison's wheelchair in the community center parking lot, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool autumn air, he knew he'd found a problem he could actually solve, unlike the mountain of bills waiting at home. "I think I see the issue," he said, gently adjusting the jammed wheel mechanism. "The axle's bent, but I can straighten it enough to get you home." Lily's bright blue eyes watched him work with curious intensity. "Mom says we'll have to buy a new one. She's already called the company." Ryan smiled, pushing a lock of dark hair from his eyes. "Well, let's see if we can save your mom some money, shall we?" He hadn't noticed the elegant black Tesla pulling into the parking lot, or the striking woman in a tailored suit who stepped out, phone pressed to her ear. Whitney Harrison was in the middle of a conference call that could secure her investment firm another 8-figure client when she spotted her daughter's wheelchair being worked on by a stranger. "I'll call you back," she said sharply into the phone, striding across the pavement. "Excuse me," she called out, her heels clicking decisively. "What are you doing with my daughter's wheelchair?" Ryan looked up, momentarily stunned by the woman approaching him. Her chestnut hair was pulled back into a sleek ponytail, revealing high cheekbones and piercing green eyes that were currently narrowed in suspicion. "Mom," Lily's face brightened. "This is Mr. Ryan. He's fixing my wheel so we don't have to wait 3 weeks for a new chair." Whitney's expression softened slightly as she took in the scene. Her daughter sitting on a bench, the stranger kneeling beside the wheelchair with a small toolkit spread on the ground. She noticed his worn jeans, the calloused hands of someone who worked with them for a living, the simple wedding band that caught the afternoon light. "The bearings seized up," Ryan explained, standing to his full height, a good 6 inches taller than Whitney even in her heels. "I'm just making a temporary fix to get her mobile again." "And you are?" Whitney asked, her businesswoman's instinct for assessment kicking in. "Ryan Whitaker. My daughter Emma takes the same art class as Lily." He gestured toward the community center. "I'm just waiting for her to finish up." Whitney's phone buzzed insistently in her hand. She glanced at it, then back at her daughter, conflict evident on her face. "Mom, he knows about wheelchairs," Lily offered. "His wife used one." A shadow crossed Ryan's face, almost imperceptible. "Used to work at a medical equipment supplier," he clarified. "I picked up a few things." Whitney hesitated, then nodded. "Thank you, Mr. Whitaker, that's very kind." "Ryan, please," he said with a smile that transformed his serious face. "And it's no trouble at all." 20 minutes later, as the art class let out and children streamed from the building, Ryan had the wheelchair functioning again. Whitney watched as he carefully helped Lily back into it, testing the wheels to ensure they rolled smoothly. A small girl with sandy blonde hair tied in mismatched ribbons bounded up to them. "Dad, look what I made." She thrust a colorful painting toward Ryan. "That's beautiful, Em," he said, his entire demeanor softening. "This is Lily and her mom, Mrs. Harrison." "You can call me Whitney," she found herself saying, surprising herself with the invitation to informality. Emma studied Lily's wheelchair with frank curiosity. "Your chair is cool. Dad can fix anything. He fixed our whole house and it was super old and broken." Ryan cleared his throat. "Emma exaggerates. We're renovating a fixer-upper. It's a work in progress." "Daddy's really good at building things," Emma continued proudly. "He made my treehouse all by himself, and he's teaching me how to use tools. I can already hammer nails." Whitney smiled genuinely for the first time. "That's impressive." Ryan glanced at his watch. "We should get going, Em. Homework before dinner." As they prepared to leave, Whitney found herself reaching into her purse. "Please, let me pay you for your help." Ryan's expression closed immediately. "No need, just being neighborly." His voice was polite but firm. "At least let me, Mom," Lily interrupted. "Can Emma and Mr. Ryan come over sometime? Emma said they have a dog named Rusty, and she said I could pet him if it was okay with you." The adults exchanged startled glances. "We wouldn't want to impose," Ryan said quickly. "It's not an imposition," Whitney heard herself saying. "Perhaps this weekend, as a thank you for the repair." The invitation hung in the air between them, unexpected, unplanned, and somehow significant. Ryan hesitated, then nodded. "That would be nice, thank you." As the Whitakers walked away, Emma chattering animatedly while holding her father's hand, Whitney felt something she hadn't experienced in years: genuine curiosity about another person. About a man who fixed things with his hands and seemed utterly unconcerned with her wealth or status. "He's nice," Lily said as Whitney helped her into the car. "And he smells like wood," Whitney laughed. "Does he now?" "Yep, not like cologne like those guys from your work. Real wood, like the forest." Whitney's smile faded as she started the car. Those guys from work were the kind of men she'd been meeting for business dinners and obligatory charity galas since her divorce 3 years ago. Men with stock portfolios as carefully managed as their appearances, who looked at her and saw the CEO of Harrison Investments first, a desirable woman second, and a mother only as an afterthought, if at all. She wondered what Ryan Whitaker saw when he looked at her. Saturday arrived with unexpected nervousness on Whitney's part. She found herself fussing over the house, a modernist mansion in the most exclusive neighborhood in town, wondering if it would seem ostentatious. It was more space than she and Lily needed, but it had been specifically designed with accessibility features throughout, an investment in her daughter's independence. "Mom, when are they coming?" Lily asked for the third time in an hour, wheeling herself expertly through the open-concept living area. "Soon, honey. Did you pick out which games you want to play with Emma?" "Yep, and I'm going to show her my adaptive bike and the elevator and my collection of rocks." Whitney smiled at her daughter's excitement. Lily's spinal cord injury had happened when she was just 5, in the car accident that had also claimed the life of her father. In the 4 years since, Whitney had watched her daughter adapt with remarkable resilience, but making friends remained challenging. Other children were sometimes uncomfortable with the wheelchair, and Lily's frequent medical appointments often interrupted social plans. The doorbell rang precisely at the agreed-upon time of 2 o'clock. Whitney smoothed her casual but designer jeans and opened the door to find Ryan standing there in clean work jeans and a simple blue button-down shirt that matched his eyes. Emma stood beside him, holding a small bouquet of wildflowers and vibrating with excitement. "These are for you," Emma announced, thrusting the flowers at Whitney. "Dad said we shouldn't come empty-handed, and I picked these from our garden." "They're beautiful," Whitney said, genuinely touched by the simple gift. "Thank you both for coming." As they stepped inside, she watched Ryan's face carefully. Most people couldn't hide their reaction to her home with its soaring ceilings, wall-to-wall windows overlooking the mountains, and obviously expensive art. But Ryan simply nodded appreciatively. "Beautiful home," he said. "The natural light is fantastic. Thank you. We designed it specifically for Lily's needs." "I can see that. The wide doorways, the accessible counter heights, it's really well thought out." Whitney blinked, surprised at his observation of the practical features rather than the luxury touches. Emma had already spotted Lily and ran over to greet her. "Your house is ginormous. Do you get lost?" Lily giggled. "Only when I first moved in. Want to see my room? I have a special bed that goes up and down with a remote control." As the girls disappeared down the hallway, an awkward silence fell between the adults. "Coffee," Whitney offered. "That would be great, thanks." She led him to the kitchen, feeling strangely self-conscious as he took in the professional-grade appliances and marble countertops. "I don't actually cook much," she admitted. "Work keeps me too busy and I'm terrible at it anyway," Ryan smiled. "I do all the cooking at our house. Emma's a picky eater, so I've had to get creative. You cook, you build things, you fix wheelchairs." "Quite the Renaissance man," Whitney said, surprised to hear herself flirting slightly. "Necessity is a powerful teacher," he replied with a slight shrug. As they sipped their coffee, the conversation flowed more easily than Whitney expected. She learned that Ryan was a general contractor who had started his own small renovation business 3 years ago, after his wife, Melissa, died from complications of multiple sclerosis. He'd bought the fixer-upper Emma mentioned because it was all he could afford in a good school district, and he'd been slowly renovating it in between paying jobs. "It's important to me that Emma has stability," he explained. "I want her to stay in one school, have one home, even if it means taking on extra work to make it happen." Whitney nodded, understanding completely. That's why I refused to move the company headquarters after the accident, even though the board pushed for it. Lily needed stability more than I needed a tax break. Ryan's eyebrows rose slightly. Your company, Harrison Investments, she said, watching his face. I'm the CEO. His expression remained unchanged. That explains why you're so comfortable making decisions. Leadership becomes a habit. Whitney laughed. That's one way to put it. My ex-husband called it pathological control issues. Sounds like your ex-husband might have had some issues of his own, Ryan replied diplomatically. Before Whitney could respond, Emma and Lily burst back into the kitchen, full of excitement. Can we have lunch outside? Lily asked. I want to show Emma the pool and the adaptive swing you installed for me. Whitney checked her watch, surprised to find that an hour had passed. Of course, I had the housekeeper prepare a picnic lunch for us. Outside on the expansive patio, they ate sandwiches while the girls chattered about school, friends, and their shared love of art. Whitney couldn't help but notice how attentive Ryan was with both children, listening to their stories with genuine interest, and gently encouraging Emma to try the vegetables she initially rejected. Lily says you're rich enough to buy Disney World, Emma announced suddenly, looking at Whitney with frank curiosity. Emma, Ryan's face flushed with embarrassment. Whitney laughed. Not quite that rich, but I am very fortunate. Then why do you look sad sometimes? Emma asked, tilting her head. An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. Emma, that's not an appropriate question, Ryan said gently. It's okay, Whitney assured him. It's a fair observation. She turned to Emma with a small smile. Sometimes adults can be sad even when they have a lot of things. The important stuff isn't things you can buy. Emma nodded seriously. Like when Dad got me a new bike for my birthday, but he was still sad because it was Mom's birthday too. Ryan's expression tightened, but he reached out to smooth Emma's hair affectionately. That's right, Pumpkin. The best things in life aren't things. After lunch, Ryan insisted on helping clean up despite Whitney's protests. As they worked side by side in the kitchen, she found herself studying his profile. The strong jaw, the laugh lines around his eyes, the way he moved with the comfortable confidence of a man who knew his place in the world. You don't have to do that, she said as he rinsed plates before placing them in the dishwasher. Old habits, he replied with a half smile. My mom taught me to help clean up wherever I eat. She raised you well. She did her best. Single mom, 3 kids working 2 jobs. He glanced around the immaculate kitchen. Different world than this, but the same values, I hope. Whitney leaned against the counter. Your mother would be proud of how you're raising Emma. Something in his expression softened. Thank you. That means a lot. From the patio came the sound of children's laughter. They looked out to see Lily showing Emma how to use her adaptive swing, both girls giggling as they took turns. Lily seems happier than I've seen her in a long time, Whitney said softly. She doesn't often have friends over. Emma too, Ryan admitted. It's been challenging since Melissa died. Kids at school don't always know how to talk to the girl whose mom died. Whitney nodded in understanding. The girl in the wheelchair faces similar isolation. Their eyes met in a moment of shared understanding that felt almost intimate. The afternoon stretched pleasantly into early evening. Ryan inspected Lily's wheelchair more thoroughly, making a few additional adjustments and showing Whitney some basic maintenance she could do herself. The children played board games, explored the yard, and finally settled in the media room to watch a movie. I should get Emma home, Ryan said reluctantly as the credits rolled. School night. Of course, Whitney replied, surprised by her own disappointment. Thank you for coming. As they stood at the front door saying goodbye, Lily looked up at Ryan hopefully. Will you come back sometime? You could teach me about tools like you teach Emma. Ryan glanced at Whitney, who found herself nodding before he could even ask. You're both welcome anytime. Maybe next weekend. Emma suggested eagerly. Dad's making his famous spaghetti on Saturday. You could come to our house. Whitney watched the subtle flash of anxiety cross Ryan's face. His home was undoubtedly a stark contrast to hers. We'd love that, she said firmly, meeting his eyes directly. If you're sure it's not an imposition. Never, he said softly. That night, after Lily was asleep, Whitney sat in her home office staring at her computer screen without seeing it. Her thoughts kept drifting to Ryan, his gentle hands working on the wheelchair, his patient way with the children, the quiet dignity he carried. It had been a long time since she'd been so aware of a man as a man, rather than as a business associate or potential threat. She realized with a start that for the first time since the accident, she'd spent an entire day without checking her email. The following Saturday, Whitney's driver raised his eyebrows when she gave him the address in a modest neighborhood across town, but he said nothing. Whitney had debated driving herself but knew the specialized van that accommodated Lily's wheelchair would be necessary. "Are we really going to Emma's house?" Lily asked for the 5th time, buzzing with excitement. "Yes, sweetie, and remember what we talked about." "Their house might be different from ours, but that doesn't matter, right?" Lily nodded solemnly. "What matters is that they're nice and we have fun together." Whitney's chest tightened with love for her daughter. Despite growing up with every material advantage, Lily had somehow avoided becoming spoiled or entitled. The Whitaker home was a 1930s craftsman-style house, with a freshly painted porch and a newly built wheelchair ramp leading to the front door. Whitney could see the renovation was a work-in-progress, new windows on one side of the house, older ones on the other, a garden that had been recently landscaped alongside areas still waiting for attention. Ryan opened the door before they could knock, wearing jeans and a t-shirt dusted with flour. "Welcome," he said warmly, his smile transforming his face. Emma's been counting down the hours. The inside of the house was modest but immaculately clean, with hardwood floors that had been refinished to a warm glow. The furniture was simple but comfortable looking, and photographs of Emma and a woman Whitney assumed was Melissa lined the walls. Most striking were the built-in bookshelves that flanked the fireplace, clearly Ryan's handiwork, with intricate detailing that spoke of hours of patient craftsmanship. "Your home is beautiful," Whitney said sincerely. "It's getting there," Ryan replied with a hint of pride. "Another year of weekends and I might actually finish it." Emma appeared, racing down the stairs with Rusty, an enthusiastic golden retriever mix, at her heels. The dog immediately went to Lily, placing his head gently in her lap as if he instinctively understood her condition. "He likes you," Emma declared. "Dad says Rusty can always tell good people." Ryan gave Whitney a tour while the girls played in Emma's room. Every room showed evidence of his skilled hands, restored original features blended with modern updates, all executed with obvious care. The kitchen was the heart of the home, with a large farmhouse table and windows overlooking a backyard with a treehouse built low enough for Lily to access via a ramp. "You did all this yourself?" Whitney asked, running her fingers along a hand-carved banister. "Most of it." "Some of my crew helped with the bigger jobs in exchange for me helping them with their projects." He stirred the simmering pasta sauce. "It's how we survive in this economy, trading skills instead of money when we can." Whitney nodded, thinking of the financial transactions that constituted her own workday numbers on screens, wealth moving electronically, nothing tangible created or improved. "I admire what you do," she said suddenly. "Creating something real, something that lasts." Ryan looked surprised, then pleased. "Most people in your position wouldn't see it that way. Maybe I'm not like most people in my position." His eyes met hers, and for a moment neither spoke. "Mom," Lily's voice called from down the hall, "Emma's showing me how to build a birdhouse." "Can I try using the sander?" The moment broke as Ryan chuckled. "Supervised only," he called back. "And safety goggles for everyone." Dinner was unlike any meal Whitney had experienced in years. The spaghetti was indeed famous-worthy, but it was the atmosphere that struck her most, the easy conversation, the laughter, the complete absence of pretense. Ryan told stories that made the girls giggle uncontrollably, and Whitney found herself laughing more than she had in longer than she could remember. After dinner, they all played board games at the kitchen table while rain pattered against the windows. When Lily yawned, Whitney reluctantly announced it was time to head home. "But we haven't had dessert yet," Emma protested. "Dad made apple crisp, a quick dessert," Ryan suggested, "and then we'll say goodnight." Whitney couldn't bring herself to refuse, especially when she saw how content Lily looked. As they ate the warm apple crisp with vanilla ice cream, Ryan asked about the specialized van waiting outside. The adaptations were complex, Whitney explained. It's essentially custom-built to accommodate Lily's specific needs. Ryan nodded thoughtfully. I've been thinking about Lily's wheelchair since last week. The model she has is good, but there are some design flaws that make it prone to the issue you had. If you're interested, I could make some modifications that would prevent future problems. You could do that, Whitney asked, impressed. Absolutely. Melissa went through 3 different chair models before we found one that really worked for her, and even then, I made some customizations. His expression grew more animated as he explained the technical details. Dad's really good at making things better, Emma said proudly. He made Mom's chair super fast when she wanted to race me. Ryan smiled at the memory. Melissa may have been in a wheelchair, but she was still competitive as hell. Sorry, heck. Whitney found herself wanting to know more about this woman who had clearly been so deeply loved. She sounds remarkable. She was, Ryan said simply. She taught me that limitations are mostly in our minds. She never saw her wheelchair as anything but a tool for living her life. On the drive home, Lily was quiet, looking thoughtfully out the window at the passing streetlights. Did you have fun? Whitney asked. The best fun, Lily said. Emma said her dad could maybe build me a special desk for art projects that would be just the right height for my chair, and she said maybe someday we could have a sleepover. That sounds nice, Whitney replied, her mind still in Ryan's warm kitchen. Mom, Lily's voice was suddenly serious. Do you like Mr. Ryan? Whitney considered the question carefully. Yes, I do. He's a kind man. I think he likes you too. He looks at you the way Grandpa looks at Grandma sometimes. Whitney felt her cheeks warm. Does he now? Yep. And Emma says he never invites anyone for his special spaghetti except her best friends. Lily yawned again. I think we're special to them. That night, Whitney lay awake thinking about Ryan's hands, how gentle they were with the children, how confident when working on Lily's wheelchair, how they moved with purpose and precision. Hands that built things, fixed things, created rather than merely acquired. When had she last been touched by hands like those? Had she ever? Over the next few weeks, a pattern emerged. Weekend visits back and forth between their homes. Ryan making the promised adjustments to Lily's wheelchair, which now operated more smoothly than when it was new. Family outings to parks and museums where the 4 of them drew curious glances: the elegantly dressed executive, the rugged contractor, and their daughters who had become inseparable friends. Whitney found reasons to call Ryan during the week, a question about maintaining the wheelchair, a suggestion for a weekend activity. Eventually, no reason at all beyond wanting to hear his voice. Ryan began to open up about Melissa, sharing stories of their 15 years together, the devastating progression of her MS, and the strength with which she faced her declining health. The hardest part wasn't losing her, he confided one evening as they sat on Whitney's patio watching the girls splash in the pool. It was watching her lose pieces of herself bit by bit and not being able to fix it. I'm a fixer by nature. I understand that, Whitney replied. After Jackson died and Lily was injured, I wanted to fix everything too. I threw money at the problem: the best doctors, the best therapists, the best equipment, but some things can't be fixed, only lived with. Exactly, Ryan said softly. Eventually, I learned that being present was more important than fixing. Melissa taught me that. She sounds like a wise woman. She'd like you, actually. He looked surprised at his own words. Would she? Whitney asked, something fluttering in her chest. Definitely. She always said I needed someone who wouldn't put up with my stubbornness. His smile was wistful. She made me promise near the end that I wouldn't shut myself away after she was gone, that I'd find happiness again, for Emma's sake if not my own. Have you found happiness? Ryan looked at her directly, his blue eyes serious. I'm finding my way there. Emma helps, my work helps. He paused. And lately, you and Lily have been a big part of that journey. Whitney felt herself blushing like a teenager. We feel the same way. That night, as he was leaving, Ryan paused at the door. I'd like to take you to dinner, he said suddenly. Just the 2 of us. Whitney's heart skipped. Like a date. Exactly like a date, if you're interested. I am, she said simply. Very much so. Their first official date was at a small Italian restaurant halfway between their neighborhood's neutral territory. Whitney wore a simple dress rather than her usual power suit, and Ryan arrived in slacks and a sport coat that made him look both handsome and slightly uncomfortable. "Sorry," he said, tugging at his collar as he sat down. "I don't dress up often." "You look wonderful," she assured him, genuinely appreciating the effort. Without the children as conversational buffers, they were both initially nervous. But as the evening progressed, they relaxed into deeper topics: their childhoods, their dreams for their daughters, their views on everything from politics to pizza toppings. "You're not what I expected," Ryan admitted over dessert. "What did you expect, honestly?" "When I first saw you in the parking lot, all designer suit and luxury car, I thought you'd be a snob," Whitney suggested with a smile. "Let's say difficult, but you're not. You're one of the most genuine people I've ever met." "And you're not what I expected either," she countered. "I thought contractors were supposed to overcharge and never return phone calls," he laughed. "Just wait until you get my bill for fixing that wheelchair." After dinner, they walked through a nearby park, the spring evening mild and fragrant with blooming flowers. When Ryan tentatively took her hand, Whitney felt a jolt of electricity that had nothing to do with power or status, and everything to do with the simple human connection she'd been missing for so long. "I should warn you," Ryan said as they reached a fountain illuminated with colored lights. "I come with complications. A daughter who still sometimes cries for her mother, a mortgage that keeps me up at night, clients who don't always pay on time. And I come with a multi-million-dollar company that demands 60-hour work weeks, a daughter who needs specialized care, and a level of public scrutiny that can be suffocating," Whitney countered. "Are you sure you want to sign up for that?" In answer, Ryan stepped closer. "I've never been more sure of anything," he said, and then he was kissing her, his hands those capable, gentle hands cradling her face as if she were something precious. When they broke apart, Whitney couldn't stop smiling. "The girls are going to be insufferable when they find out," she said. "They've been plotting this for weeks. I know, Emma's been leaving very unsubtle hints about how nice it would be if Lily could be her sister." Ryan's expression grew serious. "Is that something that bothers you, the economic disparity between us?" Whitney considered the question. "Does it bother you? Only if you let it come between us." "Then we won't let it," she said firmly. "Money doesn't define either of us." Their relationship blossomed through the spring and into summer. There were adjustments, Whitney learning to delegate more at work to make time for family dinners. Ryan accepting that Whitney could pay for things, without it being a commentary on his ability to provide. Both of them navigating the complex emotions of their daughters as the four of them began to function more and more as a unit. There were challenges, too. The first time Ryan accompanied Whitney to a company function, he endured the barely concealed surprise of her colleagues, one of whom actually asked if he was the contractor working on her house. Whitney had never been prouder than when Ryan simply smiled and said, "No, I'm the man who's in love with her." That night, after the gala, she told him she loved him too, the words coming easily after being held back for weeks. 6 months after Ryan fixed Lily's wheelchair in that community center parking lot, he proposed not with an expensive ring he couldn't afford, but with a hand-carved wooden box containing a simple silver band. "I can't offer you luxury," he said as they sat on the porch of his now completed home, "but I can promise you this. I will build us a life filled with love, laughter, and purpose. I will cherish you and Lily as my own. I will show up every day with my whole heart." Whitney, who had negotiated billion-dollar deals without blinking, found herself crying. "Yes," she said through her tears. 1,000 times yes. They married in the backyard of Ryan's home, with Emma as flower girl and Lily as ring bearer, wheeling down the aisle with a special attachment Ryan had built for her chair to hold the rings. Whitney's mother, initially skeptical about her daughter marrying a handyman, had been won over by Ryan's evident devotion to both Whitney and Lily, and she beamed from the front row. As Whitney walked toward Ryan in a simple white dress, she reflected on the strange twist of fate that had brought them together: a bent wheel axle, a chance meeting, 2 lonely parents and 2 girls who needed each other. Ready to build something beautiful, Ryan whispered as she reached him. Whitney looked at their daughters, sitting side by side, one in her wheelchair, one perched on a chair decorated with flowers, both grinning with excitement. She looked at Ryan, whose blue eyes held promises she believed with her whole heart. "I think we already have," she replied, taking his hand, those wonderful, skilled, loving hands in hers. "But I can't wait to see what we create next." 1 year later, they welcomed a son they named Jackson Ryan Whitaker, born into a family that bridged worlds' wealth and work, privilege and perseverance with love as its foundation. In the nursery, Ryan had built himself, with furniture he had crafted by hand and technology Whitney had ensured was cutting edge. Their daughters took turns helping care for their baby brother. And sometimes, when Whitney watched Ryan fixing Lily's wheelchair with the same care he'd shown that first day, or building adaptive equipment to help her navigate the world more easily, she marveled at how something broken had led to something so beautifully whole.